Can you try now? Sweet. Okay, it works. Welcome back. I have now set up my very own YouTube live stream account. What's up, coders? Welcome back. It's what's up, Code Nation? Get ready. Don't forget to like, comment, and add a semicolon. I got Fabio. So welcome back. Lesson learned, I will never, ever again play dog videos. I'm sorry, YouTube. I didn't realize I was such a bad person. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop right back into it. Sam says, you think you can hear me? That's good. It looks like the audio is going through. I'll just say, do let me know if the audio or video cuts out. Also, I think you're going to have a slightly longer delay than usual. So what we had done at the end of the first half was I'd started us kind of thinking on the project that we're going to build, a little restaurant simulator. And this is sort of like loose requirements because as we build this, we might find other things that we kind of want to add to this. And again, do kind of halt me if there's stuff that you don't understand or if there's stuff that you want to explore in particular that maybe I'm like glossing over. So we'll start by actually making a file called restaurant simulator. So you can go ahead and say, okay, here's restaurant.js. I guess I already had that. It's going to be empty. And what I like to do is just paste in the comments for the thing that I'm going to build so that I don't need to go back and forth. I'm going to throw in a good old console.log. Welcome to, what's our restaurant name? Anybody ever wanted to open up a restaurant? No entrepreneurs here? Well, welcome to Copyright Strike Diner. Yeah, is that what you said? Yeah. Oh, the Shack. Yeah, Copyright Strike Shack. Tasty copyright free food. And we'll just see if this works at the moment. So node restaurant. Welcome to Copyright Strike Shack. Featuring things such as, and we're going to have like themed food, I think. So one of the items that we might have is the electric mouse shake. For those, you just mute. It's Pokemon. So we got the electric mouse shake. It's like a lemony, kind of zesty, it fills you up with energy. It's good. We'll have another menu item. This item here is going to be Captain United States Burger. It's Captain America. Just don't let the mouse hear you, man. Yeah, Mickey's always there. Oh no, I said his name. And we'll do the last one here. Console.log. Anyone got any particularly? Oh, Night Monkey. It's the Night Monkey fries. Night Monkey, totally unrelated to Sony's, IP. So we've got the Electric Mouse Shake, Captain United States Burger, and Night Monkey fries. each of which might take some time to do what they need to do. And I can test this out, and cool, my console logs are coming up fine. Now, I've said that what I want to do is when you enter the restaurant, it'll print out a menu with some options. It feels weird for me to hard code these console logs for the menu. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this stuff in an array. Right? It just feels like the more kind of natural thing to do. So I'm going to do something like const menu equals. And so here's the thing. Like, I could decide to structure this as an array. I could decide to structure this as an object. Depending on what I pick, it's going to have different kind of consequences on how I write my code. One of the things that I really want to do later is to be able to search through my menu to find how long each item takes. Right? Like, I want to find that. So if I write it as an array with a bunch of objects in it, finding stuff in an array is difficult because I have to search through it. Right? But if I write this as an object with particular keys, finding stuff in an object is really easy in the sense that all I need is the key, and then I get the thing. Right? So as opposed to having to search through it. So my menu is going to look like this. It's going to go, OK, 1, right? Or I could do A, B, C. It doesn't really matter. But for right now, I'm just going to say 1. 1 is going to be something with a name. Right? And that name is going to be the electric mouse shake. Right? And then I'll have 2 and 3 as well. Oops. So 2 and 3, where this one here is the Captain United States burger. And this one here is the Night Monkey fries. And what I want to do is loop through this menu to print out the options on the screen. And how do I loop through an object? And so I might do object keys. That's one thing that I could do. There's object.keys. And object.keys, when you give it an object, such as the menu, this is going to give me an array, which in this case is going to be 1, 2, 3, associated with the particular keys that I've chosen. In an object, you can make the keys strings or numbers. I've made them numbers for convenience, right? But you can kind of pick whatever you want. Honestly, I kind of feel bad about doing the numbers, so I'm just going to do this, A, B, and C. So we'll have to like actually pick the letters A, B, and C. We'll do that lowercase. A, B, and C. We'll do that instead. And if I want to go through this stuff, like you said, we can do object keys. Another way to do this, and the way that I'm going to do it, is with the for in loop. Right? So I can go for const key in menu. For const key in menu, and then I throw in a console.log key if I want to see what that is. Right? What's that? ABC, right? So let me just comment out everything else. Just see what this one line does here. I want to run this. I get ABC, which is good. So if I wanted to print out the actual menu name or the item name, then I might say, OK, console.log the key. Right? Are you all comfortable with template strings? Cool. Key. And then I'm also going to console log the menu item name. Looking at how I've structured this, like, what am I going to have to write? Menu, square bracket, key, and then what else? Name. Right? And I could do this by going name like that. And I know I said last week, like, ignore the dot or whatever, but if you feel comfortable with the dot at this point, I could go menu key dot name to just get the name inside of it. And we could test this out right now and just see what happens. Maybe I'm going to get rid of this console log at line 27 because I don't really need that anymore. And what I end up seeing is A for electric mouse shake, B for Captain United States burger, and C for Night Monkey fries. Right? So we're in business. Right? We're in business. We have this menu up and running. To get even better, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go const print menu. Right? Then I'm going to make this a function so that I can call it anytime I want. Cool. So let's take a look at what I have right now for code. I have my menu. I have a function for printing the menu. And then I say, welcome to Copyright Strike Shack, and I print the menu. Right, that's what I have right now. So I go, welcome to Copyright Strike Shack, A, B, C. These are my options. Now, the question becomes, how do I wait for user input to be able to select a particular thing? Right? That's going to be your question right now. So I have the code. I'm going to pull it up on my laptop real quick, because usually what happens is I end up referring back to it. Right, I'm going to ask us right now, like, what do you imagine I might do in order to play around with this stuff? Any ideas? I think you kind of played around with this maybe a little bit yesterday, no? Maybe not, right? Do we want to look up, how do you get input in Node? Does anyone want to Google that real quick? What's that? Exporting, more like, how do I wait for a user to press a key? What's that? There is a library, right? And there's also something built in to into Node, right? You have access to an object called process. Let me just move this over here. You have access to an object called process that's built into Node. It looks something like this. Right? Process. You should always have access to that. And let me just even run it and see what that is. This is process. Right? Process is pretty big. It's a huge object. You've played around with it, I think, inside of argv. Okay, you've gone process.argv. There is also process.standardin, STDIN. Okay, process.standardin. And what that's going to allow me to do is deal with input from a user. Okay, I'll be able to wait for key presses and things like that. Process.standardin. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with process.standardin a lot. It's pretty annoying to keep typing process.standardin over and over again. So I'm going to go const standardin equals process.standardin, just so that I can make this a bit shorter. Right? Now I'm going to write a bit of code that is, I'll call boilerplate, meaning I do not want you to understand this code. Okay? I'm going to write it. I just want you to accept it and not understand what it means. Right? I'm going to go standardin dot set raw mode true, and standardin dot set encoding UTF-8. If you want to know what these lines of code do, come talk to me after lecture or just Google it. Right? But these two here are going to be, again, I'll call them boilerplate. They just have to be there for my demo to work. And when you're working on your assignments, they'll make you copy and paste these lines in there. And again, you can explore what they mean on your own. Now, what I want to do is I want to listen for key presses, or I want to listen for data that's coming in through the keyboard. Right? Let me just say that the standardin, right, this object has some way to listen for key presses. Right? I'll tell you that there is some way to do this. But I'm not going to tell you how just yet. Let's imagine, like, how do you think, or how would you want to be able to attach something to happen whenever there is a key press? Okay, like, what might that code look like? There might be a function involved, right? So there might be a function involved here. Right? So there might be a function. What's that? We might need a timer, right? And why do we need maybe a timer? That is exactly it. We don't know when a key is going to be pressed. We don't know. So I can't write some code right now that runs and does the particular thing because it's not supposed to happen right now. It's supposed to happen when somebody presses the key. And that is an asynchronous event. Right? That might happen right now. That might happen later. I need to set something to wait for that. And so how did we set like a timer before? Like what kind of construct did we need? We needed a callback function, right? Now, in our case before, what we were doing was we were actually setting a timer, right? What we're going to be doing now is we're setting a listener, right? There is code that says standard in dot on. And dot on is going to allow me to set a listener for a particular event. You're going to see this pattern a lot as you go forward working with JavaScript. I'll be able to say that anytime there is some data, right? Anytime there is some data, then this is what I want you to do. Yes? Is this like fairly similar to like dot add event listener? It is pretty much identical to that dot add event listener. Yes. Right? It's that same kind of pattern. Now, in this case here, we're saying standard in dot on data whenever there is new data. Now, how do I know this syntax? Because I looked at the documentation. Right? Like I just pulled on my laptop and I had to look it up. Right? In your case, like you're gonna have to Google the same thing. Different libraries are gonna have different ways of writing this stuff. Right? Like you just mentioned add event listener. Right? This might have been written by, if somebody else had made this library, they might have gone add event listener for data. Like they might have chosen that. Somebody else might have chosen to create this, again, this standard in library as whenever there is data. Maybe it's got this like sort of English kind of aspect to it, right? But whatever it is, you're gonna have to kind of Google it and figure it out, right? Because it'll always be slightly different. In this case here, I'm saying whenever there is data, I want you to do something, and I'm gonna go console.log woo. And we're gonna see what happens now. And I'm going to run my script, node restaurant.js, and I'm gonna notice something interesting. What is the first thing that I notice about the script that I've run? It hasn't ended. It hangs, right? It waits. And every single time I press a key, it prints out woo. Right? So let me clear that. Every single time I press a key, it goes woo because it reads that key as data coming in. Right? How do we usually exit files or scripts if they're running? Control C. Right? So if something's running and you want to close it, on your command line, you can go Control C. And here is what happens when I try to go Control C. It's just like, woo, yeah, all right. Give me another one. Yeah, all right. I'm like, no, leave. I like want to go home. No, there's no going home. Right? The only way for me to really get out of this is to X and kind of leave. And you know what's fun is this program is actually still running in Vagrant. It's still running, so I'm going to have to likely figure out how to then close that. Or I'm going to have to Vagrant halt and Vagrant up again. Right? Not really a problem right now. I'll leave it running for you just in the background, and then you can figure out how to get rid of it. But what I am going to do right now is I'm going to Vagrant SSH back up. And I'm going to put a special case in here. Every single time data comes through, I actually have access to that particular data, right? Like I can say, with the data, right? With the data, then I can do some things. I can say, okay, well, if that data is, and then I want to say it is like Control C or whatever, right? Like I want to say it's my Control C key. The way I'm going to have to do that is I can't write Control plus C. Like that's not a key. Right? There is a special string that represents the Control C operation, and that's going to be \U003. Okay? Again, this is the kind of thing you just kind of have to Google. Right? What is the Control C key? It's going to be that. And I'm going to say that when somebody does that, when somebody goes \U0003, what I want you to do is process.exit, right, to quit my restaurant. Right? And now we're back in business. I'm going to go cd, NEMA, week 2, day 2, node, restaurant. And sure, my restaurant is here and it woos, but when I control C, it quits, which is good. And so we've already started dealing with some kind of asynchronous nature here, right? I'm attaching a listener to print something out, and then I can quit. What I want to do next is actually do something with the key that comes out, right? If my key is the letter A, then I want to make my electric mouse shake. Right? So I could say, OK, if my key, so data is A, then I want to make my electric mouse shake. Right? I want to keep this thing dynamic. I want to keep it dynamic. So instead of me going like checking A and then checking B and checking C, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if my menu actually has that thing. Right? Now, this code might feel a little weird. Right? What kind of thing am I exploiting in here, JavaScript-wise? Truthy, falsy values. Right? If my menu actually has that item, this value will be truthy. If it doesn't have that item, this value will be falsy. Right? And I could explore this. I could just go console.log, we have that item. And let me just out here go console.log data. Right? And maybe I'll even go menu data so that you see what it is. Right? Let me actually do that out here. Change my mind. I'm going to do that out here. So I'm going to console log the data and the menu data. And if menu data is a truthy value, I'll console log we have that item. And we can see now, whenever I press any key, if it's a menu item that doesn't exist, like G, I get undefined. Right? But if it is a menu item that exists, like A, then I get the actual thing, the electric mouse shake. And it even says we have that item. Right? Undefined, we have that item. Cool? Now what I want to do is if we have that item, I want to start a listener. Or not a listener, a timer that'll cook that item. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, OK, you know what? My electric mouse shake, this one takes 5 seconds. Or actually, a mouse shake, maybe it's a bit quicker. We'll do 2 seconds. Right? And then we'll say, the United States burger, this one's going to take a while. This one's going to be 4 seconds. And the night monkey fries, this is going to take 3 seconds. Right? Just so we have some variation here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, you know what? If we do have that item, not only are we going to print out we have that item, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timeout. Right? I'm going to set a timeout. This timeout is supposed to take, some callback or something. So we'll figure that out. But before I even get into that, how long do I want this timeout to run for? What's that? The time that's set for that particular item, right? So I'm able to go menu data to get that particular item. And then if I want the time for that item, what do I do? Dot time, right? So this is going to wait however long that particular item requires. And then maybe what I want to do in the end is say console.log ding your, maybe I'll write this as a little template string, your, and then maybe menu data. And what did I call it up there? Name. Your menu data name is ready. Right? So we order, and then after a little while, it goes ding, and something comes out. So I can run this now, and my menu's up, and I might go A, and after a couple seconds, it says, ding, your electric mouse shake is ready. And what's cool is I can start ordering a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden, all of this stuff comes back. Right? My Captain United States burger and all that. And I have a bunch of console logs that I haven't gotten rid of, so maybe I'll get rid of that just to make this nice and clean. So I'm going to comment these out, and you can bring them back in when you want to play around with this code. Oops. I'm just going to try this one more time. There we go. There, and now this is going off. And I forgot to get rid of the woo. But my items are coming back after a certain amount of time. Right? And notice, for example, I'm going to press B, and then I'm going to press A. So B is my Captain United States burger, and my electric mouse shake is A. So if I press B and then press A, what's going to happen first? A is going to be printed out, right? My electric mouse shake is going to be printed out, and then my United States burger, even though I started the burger first. Right? So BA, and I get electric mouse shake, and then Captain United States burger. And so I will kind of leave you to expand on this as much as you want, right? We can add a whole bunch of features. You could technically add grouped orders, right? Like I could make, I want this and this and this and this, and then press enter or something to start all of them, right? I could do something like that. Right now, I'm just doing every order is like one item at a time. Right? But that's something that, like, if you wanted to, you could explore doing that. And just get rid of the woo. Are there questions about the code that I have right now? Right? I know that there's a lot of it, right? But structurally or syntactically, are there questions? Calgary, that goes for you too. I might have started talking by then, but you can just start writing, and I'll stop for your questions. So what I'm going to do as the last kind of feature that I want to add to this is the printing of the menu. Right? I want to, or not the menu, sorry, printing of your order. So what I want to do is I want to save the order to a text file so that I'll be able to go here and see like order.txt or something and see my order. Right? This is going to take a little bit of work. Right? I want you to see that like some of the code that I'm going to be working with or some of the problems I'm going to run into just require me to Google stuff. Right? And they might not necessarily be async issues. Right? And then other things are going to be async issues that I'm going to have to deal with. Are there any questions or any confusion about what I'm trying to do here? Cool. So I'm going to say that when I print the menu, right, when we print the menu, it'll also console.log print or press P to save your order receipt. Right? That will be in the menu when I run this. So let's say press P to save your order receipt. Okay? And I would like to press P, and I would like that to do something for me. So one kind of maybe more immediate place to start could be to add a new case in here. Right? So something like if data is the letter P, then I might go console.log printing receipt. It might do something like that. And I could test this out and see whether that works. So I'll press P, and it'll say, yes, printing receipt. Right, that's one thing. Now, I kind of want to leave this to you at the moment. Like, what do you think my next option should be? If say, for example, I order A, B, and C. Right? I ordered A, B, and C, and then I want to also print my receipt. And that means it should save a file that has A, B, and C. What should I do? Exactly, right? That might be a good place to start. For Calgary, I might want to make an array, and then every time I press a button, every time I save or order an item, maybe that gets pushed into that array, right? So now I have this list of items that I've ordered, and I can actually do something with it, right? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go const order equals, and I could start my order as empty, right? That's my order. And then maybe every time that I order something, like here, just before I start preparing it, just before this set timeout goes off, something that I might do is I might go orders dot, did I call it order? Yeah, order. Order dot push, okay? And I might push to it the particular name of the thing, like menu data or something like that. Okay, I might do something like that. Okay, maybe just the name even, right? Just so I have an array of just names. And then what I could do with p is I could, for the moment, just console log what order is and see whether that's tracking properly. And so I'll start this again. When I run this, I go A, B, C. Sure, it makes my stuff. And then when I go P, it says printing receipt, and it prints out all of the items that I ordered. Right? And the nice thing about this is if I order something else, like A again, when I go P, it shows me 4 items in there now. Right? I think this is kind of really cool at this point, because we've made a system that I can interact with. It's keeping memory of something, right? Technically, we could even throw in some math or like calculate the total price of the order and yada, yada, yada. And okay, so now we have this array of strings. And I want to save this to a file. I want to save it to a text file. What do I do? What's that? In a file descriptor, what does that mean? So FS, right? I need to work with the FS module. Right? Now, I, off the top of my head, can't remember how to create files and how to write to them with the FS module. I know maybe that is a thing that can happen, but I might have to go and go, okay, like node write to file system. Right? So there is that file system module, writing to a file in Node.js, writing files in Node.js, write a line into a text file. These are all things that might be helpful for me. And I might honestly spend quite a bit of time digging through this stuff. And this might take me quite a bit of time. Right? I don't like, personally, right now, starting off with the documentation, because the documentation can feel a little overwhelming, right? The first time you look at it, this is just a lot of stuff. What the heck is FIFO? Knock off FIFA. Oh no, I said something copyrighted. Oh no, I'm sorry, YouTube. Can you tell I'm salty about that? Can't believe it. You know, they take everything from us. Everything. You play two advertisements in a row. What devil came up with that, right? And you know what really crumbles my biscuit is some web developer had to do that. One of Charlotte, was it you? This is why you're sad. Yeah, some web developer somewhere in their YouTube dungeon, when the suits came down and they're like, put 2 ads in it, and they're like, but sire, the townspeople already hate us, right? So I don't know. Maybe when you go work at YouTube, like, have some integrity. Think of Nima. Anyways, Node has a file system module. I can use it to read files, create files, update files. These 2 things are probably what I'm going to be working with, is writing into a file. Right? So FS read file, probably pretty useless for me right now. Create files. This is kind of nice because I don't have a file for my stuff yet, right? So I might want to create it. So I might just want to bring in the require fs, just like you did that yesterday, I think, working with modules and requiring. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to say, OK, generally, we do all our requires at the top of the page. It just feels, yo, Lizzie. Sorry, man. Yo, Jackie. Bro, thanks. Generally, we'll do all the requires at the top of the page. Sometimes you find the documentation uses the word var. Ignore it. Turn it into const, right? Just don't even look up what var does. Don't worry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of that code that I copied, the append file, and I might even honestly just leave it as it is right now and just find out what happens. Right? I can just leave it and see what happens when I go run, A, B, C. And notice I glossed over the code. Like I haven't shown you the code yet, and that's on purpose. When I go P, it is doing something. Something, evidently, it even said the word saved, which is nice. Right? And in fact, part of the code that I brought in actually has the word console log saved in here, which is good. The thing that's really curious is I now have my new file 1.txt, which is nice. And if I was to run this again, so P, it's fine every time, right? The file already exists, so it doesn't really do anything with it. Right? So my new file.txt is there. If I delete it, so I deleted that file, and I run this again, P, it'll just make it all over again. And what I also have access to is I can put some content in it. Right? So I want us to take a look at the structure for how this thing is built. Right? What does this say? There's a callback function being passed in. Right? This says fs, so the file system, append file. Evidently, this creates a file. This here seems to be the file name. So maybe if I wanted to call this receipt.txt, that's how I could do that. This here, when I took a look at the actual file, it seemed to be the content of the file. So I could, if I wanted to, edit this or pass in whatever string I want. And this here is a callback function. And this callback function, if I was to read the docs, this runs after my file has been saved. Because saving stuff to my file system takes some time. So if I was to throw in console.log something here, I might find that even though I've written this sequentially after this, when I run my thing, so we'll go and rerun my script. When I save, that text that I wrote actually pops up before the word saved, right? Because saving stuff to the file system takes time. Right? And Node doesn't want you to stop your program while it's saving stuff in the file system. It'll continue to let you do things. Maybe you have to save a gigantic file, right? And it's annoying if, say you're working on a text editor, when you press Control S to save it, if it doesn't let you type anything for like 3 minutes because it's trying to save the thing, right? Maybe it'll still continue letting you write while that thing is saving. Right? So this is an example of a specific place where asynchronous code pops up. Right? Earlier in the lecture, I was using set timeout, and I told you that that's a contrived example. That's something I'm making up. Right? You will rarely be using set timeout to do anything. Right? Instead, you will likely show up with functions. Okay? You will end up finding functions that will behave asynchronously. And you'll have to deal with that by passing in callback functions. So if I want something to happen after this asynchronous thing, I need to pass in a callback function. Right? And you're going to find more and more and more situations like this. Right? So like I said, if you're working with databases, if you're working with getting stuff from the internet, right? If you're working with maybe your machine is connected to a little motor, and you need to move the motor up and down. That takes time. So that might be written with asynchronous code, maybe, right? If you're doing some robotic stuff or whatever. Right? There's lots of different scenarios where this pops up. I don't want that to be an overwhelming thing. Like, I don't want you to look at this and go, oh, no, like, right now I don't understand async. And Nima's saying there's a million different cases where async pops up. This is scary. What I would rather you kind of think is there's lots of opportunities for you to learn async. Right? And if one particular case does not make sense, right, there might be another case that makes sense for you next time. Right? So as you're working through today's activities and tomorrow's activities, if you have any trouble, right, when you bring over a mentor, don't just tell them, I'm having trouble with this right now. Tell them explicitly, I'm having trouble understanding async, and ask them for extra examples that are maybe outside of the context of what you're looking at in that moment. Right? That might be one useful way to like make use of mentor assistance. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. In general, that's also the way I recommend doing like your process when you're receiving mentorship. Is mentors are very keen to help you out with a problem that you're having right now. Right? And they might not immediately know that like you're confused about some other stuff, right? So, try to take I was going to say an offensive, but more of like an assertive role during mentorship to kind of guide your mentor into what you want to learn about. Right? So, I have right now this situation that saves a particular file, right? And it even writes some content in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe edit the content that gets passed in. Right? What do I want to print in there? Well, the names. Right? So I might go, I don't know, will I go order? What's that? Exactly, right? So order right now is an array, right? So I don't know off the top of my head how this is going to deal with that. If I say print, right, it says saved, and I might even go take a look at my receipt and see what it saved. Save the words hello content. I think I never restarted my thing. Oop. So let's see. We'll clear the receipt. We'll delete that. Okay. Just delete the receipt. I'm saying append file, and then it's got my order apparently in it. We'll run this again. I'll go A, B, C. Prints out my electric mouse fry, shake, night monkey fries, and Captain United States burger. And I go P. It says saved. I can go find out what's in my receipt. And it looks like apparently the way that append file works is it does a join automatically. If you pass it an array, it just joins all that stuff with a string, which is cool. Right? It's not what I expected, but it works out. If I wanted to format this nicely, then maybe I can think about how I might pre-process this order and maybe do const my order string equals and do some work to kind of prepare an order string and then write that. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with this as it is. I do want to see what happens if I order maybe 2 more electric mouse shakes. Whoops. And when I go P, it says saved. It even prints out in the console electric mouse shake, burger, fries, shake, shake. Right? And this final kind of test that I can make is take a look at the receipt and see whether it has all 5 things instead of just the 3 from before. Right? So I've got electric mouse shake, Captain United States burger, night monkey fries. And then immediately it starts electric mouse shake, Captain United States burger, night monkey fries, electric mouse shake, and electric mouse shake. So what's happening here is that it is adding to what had been there before. Right? Maybe this isn't the behavior that I want. It's possible that this is the behavior that I want, and then I could just be happy with it. But I'll say that in the context of the program that I'm making, what I wanted to do here is clear the previous file. Right? Clear the previous file. So that might mean deleting the file and just remaking it. Right? Or maybe there's an option that I can pass to this to completely overwrite file, right? And I could explore fs, let me just Google with the word overwrite a file, right? And there might be an option, what's the best way to overwrite a file using fs and Node? This could be it. Turns out that there are two functions that I could be using. One of them is called write file sync, and the other one's called write file. Right? We have two functions. And I could go find out how this write file function works. Right? The write file function is going to look very, very similar to what I've been working with. Right? Very similar, except instead of saying append line, I'm going to say write file. Right? I still get to say the name of the thing. I still get to pass it some data. I'm going to notice that in the documentation here, they have two versions of it. One way is to either pass in this buffer. I don't know what the heck this is. But I do know that another option is to just pass in some text. So sometimes these functions are going to give you more than one way to use themselves. Right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and go fs write file. And again, the reason for this is because this person here told me, where'd you go? Why? Yeah, can I borrow your charger, please? Thanks. Calgary, the laptop just turned off. Oh man, it was the last 30 seconds. I can't believe it. In the meantime, though, the reason I did that is because that person on Stack Overflow told me that the write file function always overwrites the file. It always does that. And the other thing that I might want to look into is why is there a write file and also a write file sync? Right? So if I took a look, write file sync is not going to take a callback because write file sync is a synchronous version of that function. Sometimes when you're dealing with libraries, they'll give you asynchronous versions and synchronous versions of the same function. Thanks, son. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say write file. This seems all good. We're going to just get back into Vagrant real quick. All right, we're going to have Vagrant up and Vagrant SSH. Yeah, lo and behold, we're only 1 minute over time, which is kind of good. Yeah, you have a fast computer compared to mine. Mine takes a long time just to get to this one part. What's that? Ah, yeah, that might be it. So as soon as this is up, oh, nice. All right, CD, Nima. Week 2, day 2, node, restaurant. There you go. I'm going to order 3 things, A, B, C. Right? Even though I already have a receipt with some stuff in it, when I go P and it saves, it'll overwrite it. Right? And that's nice for me. So that's where I'm going to leave us today. I will say in the notes here that you can take a look. Okay? Take a look at the write file sync function, right? And think about how that would kind of like change your code, right? And also, what are the benefits? Benefits of using that instead, right? Using the synchronous version instead. I leave that as an exercise for you. We covered a lot of stuff today. Thanks for kind of sticking through with, honestly, every kind of technical difficulty. My computer ran out of space. I got our account shut down. and the laptop ran out of battery, but we made it. Props to Ted for lending me your computer. Have a great rest of the day. Notes will be out really soon, and if you do have any questions, just message me. But the main kind of takeaway from this lecture, the main takeaway is async means callbacks, right? That's the one thing that I want you to keep in mind as you go into your assignments, is that async means you're going to need callbacks, right, for now. Cool? Question? Yeah, you're going to get a copy of everything that I wrote. I'm going to put it in a Git repo and just send it to you as soon as possible. Cool. All right. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, Calgary. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks, everyone.